Welcome back, everyone. We have a great guest. We have Richie Cavalera from Incite. How are you doing today?
Life is good. Life is good. Chatting metal,
Yeah.
talking new album. Everything's killer. Thanks for taking your time.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this. You guys are about to release your seventh full length. How has the writing and recording process changed since the first record, The Slaughter, in '09?
Oh, geez, a completely different experience. I mean, back then it was more, the guitar player kind of wrote everything, and just that was what we got, and all of it done through like email and
Yeah.
MP3, and nothing really in person. So with Wake Up Dead, the previous release, and into this one,
Mhm.
more band driven writing, more in person writing. We sent Lane and Lennon basically together in a room for maybe like 3 months. It must have been
Right.
just writing, and I think you're hearing the results firsthand of like how much more mature and like defined I think our sounds become since Wake Up Dead and Savage New Times.
Right. And when you're saying that they stay in a room for like 3 months, do you write your lyrics to like the music, or do you have it pre-written and you kind of go from there?
I mean, I tend to like notepad
Mhm.
constantly. So
Yeah.
when time comes for the music, I have so many ideas already built. I have so many lines already written. Now it's just time to like ingest that music and see what topics or what certain words or lines work for a track, and then it just grows from there. And I think that's a big time when we put together like the structure
Yeah.
and the layout of songs is when the vocals really get going. And it's always a good process because Lennon and Lane, they're such good writers to
Mhm.
where there's not a lot of baggage in the music that they send us. So me and Elle just really sit down, structure work, and then I dive in like that, and it's a very comfortable feel. I don't feel like I'm putting pressure on them or them putting pressure on me. It's just real organic.
Right. And how personal as a vocalist do you get with your lyrics?
Oh, I mean, everything is firsthand experiences of my life. I'm a very kind of like bottled up emotional type of person. I've always just learned to like keep my mouth shut, write it down. Keep my mouth shut, write it down. So whenever an album comes, it's like fully release of everything that's been built up in me, from troubled relationships or bills and debt or just everyday life of just feeling shitty or really happy. I think relatable lyrics is to me the most important thing about what I do as a vocalist. I want people to hear uh, the songs and totally come away with that with an emotional feel, like
Right.
happy or hyped or got some aggression out, or
Right.
just really feed off of that. And I think it complements the music really well with Incite style.
Right. And do you have any favorite lyrics from this record that you wrote?
Yeah, this personally to me is like the best I think I've gotten to at this point in my career with just learning through all the albums. And I think the song Chucked Off, really just cool lyric play. I have this line where it's like, the road that you're on is your own asphalt.
Yeah.
So you could take that asphalt as actually being the road that's laid or your asphalt. So I think
Yeah.
that song really played well with like vocal lines that really hit hard, as well as Doubts and the Fears. I love um, the story that that song creates, because I think we all go through our own mind screwing us over from like making good changes or proceeding forward. So that song and Chucked Off really hit hard for me vocally, but the whole album in general I think
Right.
is a vast upgrade improvement of what I've done in the past.
Mhm. And, I have to ask, you guys have 9 records as we talked about. Were any of these songs, like, archived that you brought from old records that didn't make it on, or riffs or anything like that?
I think Lennon had a couple of these ideas for the Wake Up Dead album, but that ended up, becoming an EP slash greatest hits kind of whatever the label did with that. But most of this was all new because Lane, this being really the first time where he,
Yeah.
joined the writing process and that. So most of these ideas are what was thought of when we decided to make this record. And that's always cool. I think having a perspective that's now in here resonates better for us making our music.
Right. And as I read, this is his first record with you guys. With him being new, like what do you feel he like brings to the table that wasn't there before?
Oh my God, everything. I mean, the three of us, me, Len, and L, like we feel like he's been with us for so long,
Right.
just in how his work ethic is, how his humbleness is, how his just being so present and fired up for the band from day one when he came and joined us. And I think that's how it has to be when those members all click and are firing on all cylinders. It really creates a special moment in a band. And I think, we went through a lot of troubled, crazy guitar player, dudes that tried and, they did great and, propelled the band forward. But Lane's the first one where it's really like that guy, we've waited for him, we've searched for him, and he brings such a young energy to us guys, and to be re-excited and having fun making music and playing live is like that's one of the greatest feelings I think a musician can get,
I agree.
especially after years. It's like, wow, I'm excited to do this again on a level that I haven't felt since I was, starting in music. So everything he's done has just been a dream come true for this band.
That's cool though. And that's I have to bring up that he's part of this now. He wrote a lot of this. When listening to this
Yeah.
record, duh, with the editing process, did you guys have any changes where you guys like, well, the riff could be a little different there. Oh, I don't like the lyrics here. I could do it here with any of the songs?
Yeah, I mean, I think every song we do that. We we put it all together, and then we have demo listening just between the band where we, um, feed our ideas to each other and see how that feels, and then that's where it becomes good enough for us to send to the producer Steve Evans. And once he gets his hands on it, it can go anywhere.
Right.
But the fact that he's done, three previous records with us, this being the fourth, he really knows who we are as musicians, as guys, as what our talents are, what they aren't, and he just really knows how to shape the final touches of these songs. And it's fun having all five of us sitting at the recording room in the pre-production stage and like talking about these, and all of us really on the same page about like what doesn't work, what's not Incite. And for him to understand that, I think you can lose that when you change producers so much. So that I think was such a crucial part to getting the band and everybody on the same page for the structure, for the layout, for each song that we were going to use on this record. And that was a fun process with him.
Right. And talking about the layout, so I always love asking because there's 10 tracks on this record. What was your guys' process coming up with the track listing, and did you guys have a few?
Yeah, me and Lennon will usually handle that aspect. We're the type of guy that likes to get in the car and drive and really feel the emotional changes that each song brings. And, with Lennon being such a critical part in the writing and being in this band for so long, I really wanted to put that on him. To me, this had that feel of like his baby,
Right.
to me. And when we compared notes of like the layout and song order, it was literally almost similar. I think there was just like two songs we ended up switching
Yeah.
from what my list was to his, and that again just kind of showed something that was so special about this record. And the flow of it is something that I think really impacted how good this album came
Right.
out. You have a very heavy, out the gate, aggressive, ass kicking, but really fun start with lies and going into feel that shit. I think that created a really fun experience, and then the groove hits hard with just a rat and chucked off, and then we begin to show you, I think, our melody and our melodicness coming into doubts and the fears, and then obviously with Dolores and the second half of this record really being a lot of who we're becoming. I think songs like used and abused is such a cool feel in the way that song is created and keeps you guessing about what's coming next. Or No Mercy, No Forgiveness also is another very fun ride of a song. And I think, yeah, the order is something very crucial that we were able to really knock out on this record.
I agree. It has a great flow, and I have to bring up like songs like Dolores and stuff like that. With you guys playing live, it's so different. How are you guys gonna make that translate? Because everything's different from recording to playing live. You know that.
Oh yeah.
How are you guys gonna make that work since you guys are like basically a metal band? Are you guys gonna have recordings for the keyboard type of stuff?
We're intrigued to figure that out ourselves because obviously, our vision is one day having, a badass piano out there and Lane playing that shit. But for now, we're gonna jump into rehearsals, I think, here next month and really dive into like which songs we want to play.
Yeah,
Obviously, we want things to be more of the newer
of
stuff from Wake
course.
Up Dead and this record. So I'm intrigued to see what the ideas the guys have. I mean, it will probably be introed as a playback as they call it, just to keep the momentum of the show going and us not having a crew and things like that. It really makes for a more difficult time to really do that, and playing our set time is very limited, so we have to come out and just kick ass. But we are definitely going to play this whole record.
So I have to bring that up, like I said, because you guys are. I don't know where you guys are sitting on most of your tours yet, but like you're one of those bands that get a kind of a not that long of a set. With having 10 songs, are you guys gonna have alternate sets, like set lists that you guys have for each show, and maybe switch it up a little bit?
I think we're going to keep this one pretty consistent with the fact that Summer Slaughter. There's a lot of big hitters on this tour,
Yeah, yeah.
and a lot of metalheads that have never seen or heard of us before. So something that I think when you're in a band that develops is the consistency. So when your set list is the same, you really, for us especially, we get really tight to where um, you don't need to worry about counts or listening for certain cues because it just becomes so natural with the four guys that are in this band. So we're gonna dial it in during rehearsals, and then we will play that through the whole tour because 25 minutes, we need to make a massive statement in that time, and I think we're just the band that is up to the task to really setting the bar high for the Summer Slaughter and all the tours coming after that.
And with you talking about using just the last two, well, this new record and the last record, are you gonna make it where it's kind of like a split where there's like half new, half old? Well, not old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to start out with three Wake Up Dead tracks, and then we're going to go for three of the new singles that have all been released, and then end with Built to Destroy, which I think again it just comes back to us needing to play songs that are just uh, from our experience, just heavy hitters and able to compete with a band like Hatebreed or Malevolence or Fugitive. I think taking too many chances is a risk unless it's like a headline show. I think that's where you get to have your fun and test out stuff and really dive in, which, it's cool. We're going to do a couple headline shows while immersed in the Summer Slaughter tour. So it'll be fun for us to have a switch up every other couple nights and play something more and get into the catalog.
Right. And I have to bring up, I mean, Summer Slaughter's back because of Jamie Josta. How does it feel to be one of those bands that he like handpicked to be on this tour? Because he basically said he's handpicking people for this tour.
I mean, that was like an incredible honor for us. I think with how many bands there are to pick from and just the caliber of bands out there, it was a real special thing for us to be on this. And for someone like him, who we've always idolized in terms of what Hatebreed's done, how they've done it,
Right.
it goes back to like '98. I mean, I was on tours with them, you
Right.
know, and getting to watch them as they were starting out to really become a monster in the scene, and to him to like kind of like put that full circle in music, like to where I went from seeing him at 16 and now here I am opening up for him on one of the biggest tours of the years. A dream come true and a total mind blow. Like yeah, and then you have all these other bands, Bleeding Through, who's somebody I
Right.
listened to so much when I was starting this band, and all these brand new bands that are on it as well that I haven't seen live. So I'm excited. I'm gonna be a fan and playing, and it's just gonna be a great time.
Right. Is there any band you're looking forward to seeing almost every night, basically?
Fugitive for sure.
Oh, they're
I
great.
think they have that killer Texas metal that is going to create a really fun show to watch. And yeah, I'm just going to be hanging the whole night. I can't wait. I'm going to be at the merch booth, just immersing myself in everything that's going on, and enjoying being back on tour and talking with the metalheads and just really like loving what I do. I'm beyond excited for this.
Right. Is there any city you're looking forward to the most playing wise?
I mean, all of them for sure, but North Carolina actually, uh, they have become a really monster scene in metal, which is so cool. I mean, 10 years ago, you'd go there and it was real hard to draw at a show. And now you're seeing packed venues. You're seeing them buy more merch than everybody. You're seeing their energy just being off the charts. So I'm excited for that show. I think that's going to be a ripper.
That's gonna be pretty cool. And I love asking bands, do you have any tour rituals or a crazy rider request?
I mean, I don't even think we've ever had a rider, so we don't ask for nothing. We're just hyped to get whatever we get, and that's a cool part. But my ritual is just kind of like me and Elle. We always meet up about an hour before set, and we go to just the bar, and we have ourselves a nice little whiskey shot, and just decompress, focus, get that mindset going, but at the same time, just having that friendly, cordial moment that just kind of stops time in its place for me and him. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
That's pretty cool. And I mean, I cannot not bring up this in this interview. Max Cavalera, you're the stepson of like a legend. What do
Hell
you
yeah.
take from his career and apply to your own?
I think that's been the best lesson for me. I've never been one to like ask for shit. So my big way that I could take advantage of what my luck in life or birth or whatever the hell it is to observe. I have Glory, who's a great manager, and him, who's one of the best performers. So I've learned to just sit back, watch him play, see how easily he literally just takes an entire place of people and they are just locked in to everything and how he says it and what he does. And I think that's been such a great aspect. And then the working hard part, never quitting, going through tough times, going through hard times, going through battles with people you thought were friends. I think that to me is the biggest example of role modelship from a father as well as a musician that I am influenced by. So I definitely have been super blessed and just happy to carry on this Cavalera legacy.
Right, and I have to bring up, of course, you have Gloria, you have Max, you got Igor. Having such legends in your family, because they are legends, she's one of the best
But
managers out there. What do you take from that and utilize? Like, do you show them your recordings, or do you get like certain advice?
I mean, I love, getting to play the records for my dad.
Yeah,
I think that's always a nerve wracking, exciting experience. And that's when I knew this record was something special because he's always been a father in how he responds. But with this one, it was, you could see him almost thinking about stealing riffs and, things that were like different. He was just like, like, wow, dude, like, holy shit, when he was done listening to it. And that was such a cool moment for me. I like, I've, this dude's written some of the best metal songs in history. And for him
right, of
to
course.
feel that vibe, that was really cool. And then, with Gloria, it's everything. I I have questions when my current management and all the managers I've had do things. I, have a good mentor to,
Yeah.
ask about what this is. How should I come at the situation? And, that's been the most helpful thing to me, I think, because being a musician is one thing, but it's so much business stuff that you had never thought. I mean, at the end, we're all kind of just like glorified t-shirt salesmen, like that's what we kind of all joke about as being musicians now. And like, I think she's helped me to like have a 20-year career and
Yeah.
7 albums and all that stuff just with her advice and watching them be so real about who they are and what their love for metalheads and music as a whole is.
Right, and you've been in this industry your whole life basically, and you've toured with so many bands. From being around that growing up to touring with these bands, what do you take from like the crises they go through, or even like the good things and bring to yourself?
I mean, I love problems. Like I thrive on that shit. Like when we're broken down from an alternator at 2 in the morning in Bucksville, Ohio. I love that moment. That's like where I take from my mother, and I really excel there. Or that's like, you know, having a great show and feeling like, you know, all that stuff that you go through is totally worth it, and all the problems, become less of an issue at that point.
Right. Right, and I thought this would be a cool question to ask. You've been around it the whole your whole life. What band have you seen that you was one of your favorites that's not around anymore?
Uh, I mean, kind of around, but Pantera was big time.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to go on like the Sepultura Pantera tours,
Oh, that
and
must be crazy.
oh my, it was like nothing you ever saw before. I mean, these two like just titans like colliding every day, but such an amazing camaraderie off the
Yeah.
stage these bands had, and to see you know them play and be such great friends on and off the stage was a really special thing for me to get a witness and understand how deep the metal um, like family goes.
Yeah.
And those bands, they still see each other, and it's like they haven't missed a beat. They're remembering all the moments from those tours, and that's something special to have been able to witness. Or like the early Ozfest, those always will stay with me. Seeing some of those bands that fill stadiums now. I mean, they were playing for 20 people at noon, so it's a cool perspective you get being on this side of it,
Right.
and seeing the bands that like, Nuclear Assault that used to come through Arizona when I was a little kid and sleeping on the couch, and,
Oh, that's
Sacred
crazy.
Reich. Yeah, like Sacred Reich jamming in the guest room, in the early days. And just like it just shaped my humbleness for this and the love for this, and like a never taking it for granted kind of feel. And, that's what I think this band emulates beautifully.
I agree. Must have been crazy being around Benny, Paul, and Dimebag, dude. That must have, especially like young kid you.
Yeah, it was wild, and it's just something I'll never forget. And those guys were incredibly great human beings, also.
Oh yeah, I got to hang out with Rita at Nam. Sweetest chick you'll ever meet. She's making you like black tooth grins all night, and you're like, yeah, I almost puked on her bus that night. Not gonna lie, I was like, dude, I don't do this, but yeah, um,
Yeah, I love that. That was a great, that era of music. It was a cool time.
I agree. I wish it was still a thing. Dimebag being gone is like the worst thing. Just like
Yeah,
that's him and Max are like two of the biggest icons ever. You know?
yeah, no doubt. Their mark and influence on heavy music has been, unmatched for sure, in every
Right.
way.
I agree. And this record isn't out yet. You guys have dropped a few singles. Is there any songs that haven't been released that you're excited to see translate live?
Yeah, the next single actually, it's called "Lies." It's actually the album opener, and that one will be performing on the upcoming tour. And um, it's just such a nasty, ripping, throat punch type of track. I think everybody has been inundated with lies, whether it be from friends, family, relationships, the TV, whatever it is. And this is just kind of like me just exposing all the lies, is the way I called it. And that one really hits, and I think the video is going to be something special. We had um everybody at one of our most recent concerts film from their point of view on their
That's cool.
phones. So we've got like 30 or 40 different phone angles that are going to make the video for the song. And I think it's going to be really cool because we're going to, obviously blast out those people that provided the footage, but also like just making, again, like something that we strive on is that camaraderie between the metalheads and us, like that to us is the most important thing, because that's who we were, that's what we still are. And um, any way that we can get that involvement is what we strive for. So this video is going to embody that and
Pretty
totally
cool.
be something different. Yeah, I think it's going to be dope.
I love when bands involve their fans in their videos, but that must have been a hell of a editing situation right there.
Yeah, I'm sure they're having fun with that. I just like I had everybody send me the footage, and I was like, I am not doing. I was like,
You're like,
y'all, here
bye,
you go. I am
not my
not the
thing.
tech. Yeah, I'm not the tech guy. I was like trying to figure out how to even sign up for all this stuff, and I'm I'm one of the millennials that got left behind in this world.
I only learned this because of the person that taught me how to interview, not gonna lie. Told me what
It's
gear to
fun.
buy. Oh, dude,
It's
they told me what
fun.
gear to buy, and I'm just like, "Cool, I'm good."
Hey,
Like,
that's nice though, getting a heads up at least to do that because like this stuff is wild. I remember years, going through all the stages I've been from. It started with like phone calls, then it moved to emails, and now it's this, which this is my favorite part.
I've never done the phone calls because I can't figure that out. I'm only 32 and I can't figure out the phone calls. I'm
Hey,
like,
that's okay.
because there's a band
Okay.
called Midnight. If you've heard of Midnight, they wear their masks or their covers, and well, they don't want to do a video. I'll never forget. I interviewed Mushroom Head, and the dude right before he put on his mask in front of me. I was like, I don't know if I was supposed to see this, but okay.
That's great. See,
I'm
I
like,
wondered about that.
it's wild, man. Right before I'm
So
like counting in. It's crazy.
so he did the whole interview in his actual stage
Dude,
performance outfit.
it wasn't even the mask that he wears live. It was just this like it looked like he was wearing a fishbowl that was all black. I was like, okay.
Ah,
It was
that's hilarious.
he was a cool guy. Skinny's fucking cool as fuck. He was cool,
Yeah, hell
but
yeah.
it was wild. One of the
I love
most
I love that they're translating that into the image everywhere, and that's cool as shit.
yeah, it's crazy when like there's a mask band and they don't wear a mask for the interview. It's like, okay.
Who the hell is this guy?
I
That's
remember,
great.
like, looking look like because they show the photos, and I was like, "He looks a little scary. I don't know if I'm gonna have nightmares after this, like, it might be a little
Oh my
scary."
god, that's so funny. Yeah, they're badass live. I saw them a few years ago. It was pretty dope. Mushroom Head set.
I haven't seen him live, but, uh, never know. I might. Okay, so being in a band since '09, how have you learned to adapt in this industry? You're talking about how a lot of this is different now for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like one aspect that's like the same anymore. I mean, it's crazy. I like it a lot better now than I
Yeah,
did in '09.
yeah.
I think like music and heavy music in general is like very confused. You
Yeah,
know, I just don't think there was like a defined genre. Some of the big guys were kind of like faltering with their releases, and music was getting kind of like a little crazy to me. Obviously, like, Slipknot and Lamb of God, I think really captured that moment to take it, to the next levels. But for me, like, going from CDs and then burning CDs to downloading and then Spotify, like, and now vinyl coming back. It's just like
yeah.
it's so crazy to see the ride that
Right.
you know music's gone through, and like the way people consume it or grab it. I mean, back then it was, I think, just MySpace was the only thing going as far as social media went with music, and it's just such a different landscape now. But I think what's cool to see is that metal to me is bigger than it's ever been since, the early 90s, and that is exciting. There's so much new music, and the old guard of big dudes is finally having to like pay it back and realize, hey, without new bands succeeding, we're going to be gone too, because there's no new fans coming if there's not new bands coming. And
I agree.
every music has been able to do that. Country, pop, rap, they've all nurtured their upcoming artists, and metal like beat them down for so long, and now it's like finally you're seeing these bands getting that attention and going. We just saw Knock Loose get added to the Metallica tour in Europe, and bands like 200 Stab Wounds and Body Box and all these bands that
Yeah.
are young that can propel us into the future are getting that attention finally, and that's the best thing I think going on right now. And you know big old staple bands are finding they need these younger bands to create the future.
I agree. I just saw that Metallica introduced to have Knock Loose play with them, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's very different. I mean, because I've interviewed people that toured with Metallica. To utilize that stage is going to be very interesting because their stage is crazy.
Yeah, I love seeing that. Like I said, I think that's how we sure up the future of metal for them and for us and every band in between. You know that helps us when a band like Metallica, who has all that power to, give the future of metal a chance, and that they're definitely doing that.
I feel like they're one of those ones. Unearth is one of those bands that likes to bring a lot of people on tour. I wish that was more of a thing. I think that a lot of those big bands don't see the reason of doing it, and they want to keep it, not trying to like be mean, but like look at Exodus. They always bring Testament, or they're trying to bring Possess. It didn't work out. So
Yeah,
you don't get to see bands where they're like, dude, you should be bringing the future of thrash on tour, not, yeah, let's go on tour with my buddies for the thousandth time, you know? Like,
yeah,
that's
no,
what I love about Metallica.
yeah, I see that too, and you're seeing like these festivals, these massive festivals are also digging very deep
Oh,
into the
yeah.
pocket of bands that are out there. So a lot of new stuff is getting its chance to find its way, which it should. Like these older bands, they've been doing this for 40 years and have had that for so long that I just think it becomes a place where they don't know how to do it different. They may just the landscape is so different from when they started that it becomes that kind of way of life for them.
Right, I agree, and it's cool, like, I think this year is actually one of those years that almost every festival, Louder Than Live, Aftershock, they're actually have a whole it's different, it's not the same 5 bands or, like, it's headlining, it's cool. It'd be cool to see, like,
Yeah,
bands like your guys' level be on something like that, you know?
yeah, I definitely think that that'll be the case, and I think that's why Europe was so successful for so
Mhm.
long. Why so many bands were going to Europe is because you'd have these festivals where it's like on one stage you've got Alanis Morissette playing, on the next you have Napalm Death. It was like they weren't afraid to combine musics and expose people to all sorts of different genres, and whether they were big or small, and that I think is what America's getting into, and it's exciting. There's a lot of great music, and especially all the platforms that we all have to find it is so large. It just gives a lot of those kids that are like dreaming of this situation a chance.
I agree, and I have to bring up, like, you've been on a lot of cool tours. Is there a tour, dream tour that you would love to do that you had with people you haven't toured with already?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to tour with Lamb of God. They've been one of my stable bands, of the of post like early metal, new metal, etc. That band is just great what they do. They're always consistent. They're always heavy. They're always good people, and I would love to tour with them. And I'd love to tour with a lot of the new upcoming bands. Knock Loose, Power
Nice.
Trip would have been a dream come
Oh,
true. You
that'd be
know,
cool.
I'd like to do a Gate Creeper,
Ooh,
Arizona style type based, tour. Us being from Arizona, them being Arizona, I think that would be gnarly. And yeah, it's a list for days. Like we're
dang.
ready to go.
That'd be very interesting. What I thought was cool is, like, recently Randy from, uh, Lamb of God did a interview, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not a metalhead. I like punk," and I'm just like that kinda blew me away 'cause of him being, like, so big in this metal industry, dude. I never understood that.
I think it's just waves. I'm like the same. Like right now, I'm currently into a lot of like '90s alternative and reggae, and then all of a sudden I'll throw on, a Body Box record or a Prison record. So it's like I love the fact that metalheads are finally getting out of the concept of being boxed into this tiny each genre, because we got to the point where it was like 80 genres of just what metal was, because everybody had to be so this or that. And now, that's breaking down, and that's why you're getting cool tours where all this mix of
Yeah,
music from metalcore to heavy metal to hardcore are all combining, because people are realizing, you can start with Korn and end up with Slayer,
yeah,
and that's exciting. I think that's what bands like, those kind of like they're metal, but they're kind of like, I don't know how to describe, like, Slaughter to Prevail, or baby metal. They're they're like that introduction, and then I
right,
think people are like, damn, I need some real shit, and they go find
yeah,
Carcass or
yeah.
Sodom, Obituary. So it's cool in every level. I think gets people closer to like the real good shit.
Right, and when you talk about, like, so many genres you like, what, like, 5 bands or vocalists for you shaped you as a vocalist?
Um, I think the early suicidal tendencies. I think you can hear a lot of Mike's influences in some of my songs lyrically. Um, Chino, the Deftones, Crosses. That's like some of my favorite stuff ever. Mike Patton was really big in doing what I do. Lynn Straight, and I would say my final guy would probably be Ozzy.
Of
Ozzy,
course, legend.
gosh, I mean, just so good. And I think the Aussie thing is like he's like the most metal
Right,
god of all times, but yet he could write the most sad
right,
songs, and that's like kind of what I opened up on this record was like finding that. I think
right.
metal can be so tough but sad at the same time, and
I agree.
we cry, we laugh, so I think that's a cool thing that he always showed me that you could do with being the Lord of Darkness per se.
And with you being in this industry, have you ever crossed paths with Ozzy or
Oh yeah, I mean I have so many beautiful Aussie stories. I was very blessed to have my dad and him connect so multiple years, and Ozzy really took to my father because he kind of went through the same things Ozzy did,
yeah,
getting out of his band and finding his way, and all these things that happened to them that were so similar. We were a very close family. You
yeah.
know, Ozzy actually, I stayed at their house when I was probably like 10 or 12 years old or something, and he's cooking us fries, and like it's the only thing he knew how to make at the time, and you know, like like him so we were all good friends, the kids. He's got his kids, we have ours, and it was just really close. Like me and Jack and Kelly and Amy, and one night, we were just all friends. So I'm hanging out with I think it was Amy, and we were just kicking it, and it was kind of late, so it seemed like we were troublemaking, and we hear Ozzy coming down the hall, so I like quick dive under the bed, and Ozzy walks in. He's like, who the hell is under your bed? And it's me has to come crawling out. And he's like, you bastard, get in Jack's room, So it was like, it was like, it was a dream come true. Like at the time I didn't know. And it took me till I got a little older to just realize how cool all this was, being a part of, of a history, like we were all kids at the same time, literally growing up on Ozfest. And,
Right.
that
Crazy.
that dude's a badass.
Do you have a favorite Ozfest you got to attend?
Yeah, 98. I mean that was just it was bonkers from, Limp Bizkit to Seven Dust, Cold Chamber, Incubus, System of a Down. I mean that second stage could be 100,000 person festival today by itself
That's
of what
crazy.
those bands were. It was insane. And uh Limp Bizkit was really fun. They always had something going on. Snot was very fun. They always had something going on, and we'd have golf carts and just pure chaos happening. I think they didn't put all the restrictions on quite yet at that point. So people were having a great time. It was truly, to me, like one of the most special times in all of music. Probably the bubble. When it all burst after that, it just kind of changed. But that was a really incredible year and time.
You guys probably made all their restrictions have to happen after that with the golf carts. They're like, "You guys are
Oh
done."
yeah.
I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
kidding.
they locked that shit down, and I think we did. It was 2001 was the next one we were on, and that was like Tommy Lee and all this shit too. So it was really crazy there too. But you could tell, yeah, they were taking away the golf cart keys, and shit was changing, but still an incredible time. And I wish people today could experience what
Yeah.
Ozfest was.
It's never gonna be the same, that's the crazy thing. And you staying at Ozzy's
No.
house, so it's not like the how the Osbournes was is all insane every 5 seconds of the episode?
No, they're
It was
they're a beautiful family, like just like us. I think you know, we're all kind of just thrown in this life, and it just is like put on us as kids to be like, hey, this is what it is. Fucking figure it out. And we all were very lucky, I think, to have that kind of group around us. And Sharon was always a beautiful person and so kind and helping. And I always saw a lot of my mom and her, and they felt like my other parents, growing up through those years. And I have nothing but love and greatness for them, and to see them all kind of like finding their way too, because I know how hard it can be, to like really have a normal life and have kids and
Oh yeah.
try to like just live. So big respect to all of them always.
Well, no, the expectation out of being like a legend's like kid, they expect you to make a band and be on that level too. Must be insane to experience
Yeah,
that.
it's crazy, but I think it's we're blessed. So you can't be like poor me. You just got to dive in head first and like have the best time, not be an asshole, and the rest will kind of just work itself out.
And would you ever love to have your Incite tour with Soulfly?
Yeah, we did a few of those in like 2019 and 2015 and I think 2013. That was like that was the one thing that I did, you know, like take part in, was like, hey, put us on this tour, please. Like, we need to get established. We need to figure this out. And my mom was always cool. She'd be like, look, we'll put you as the first band. We're not going to pay you shit. You have to make it all work. And I think that's what's made Insight such a hard and tough,
Right,
grinding, never quit type of band, is because those years of you know her doing that and giving me that, at least that opportunity. But hey, you're not gonna show up like this dude on a tour bus, or you're not you're not gonna have crew. You're gonna do it your own way. I
that's
think that really built us a love for
right.
everything, every part of music and touring.
Right, I agree. I agree with you. And from touring for your almost basically your whole life, I love asking bands. They go on tour. Do you have a favorite restaurant? If you do, what's your order?
Waffle House for sure.
That was
And yeah, I mean that's just like a staple. It's so good. It's always open and it's cheap. And I love their normal waffle, a side of bacon, and then two of the chicken breasts. Their chicken breast is out of this world. Like, it's so good. And my bass player, he always gets the same thing. It's always, which is so weird to me, is two pork chops and grits. And it's like, who goes to Waffle House and gets pork chops? Who goes anywhere really and asks for
right.
pork chops? But yeah, it's like, it's just one of those places, they don't mess anything up.
And with you guys going on this current tour, because you guys are about to go off Summer Slaughter right now, is that like one of your guys' go-to places, or do you guys have other go-tos?
I mean, that's number one in the food department. The second is the Flying J's. Like, we live at those. We don't get hotels. We don't shower at hotels. We don't do any of that. We do everything there. We play the show and we go after party at the Flying J. It's like, go in there, eat some beef jerky or some yogurt, and then get the pot pie chicken noodle soup the next day. And yeah, that's our thing. They got the lounge with the TV, and you can do laundry and just hang with some really weird people, which
We-
is cool. It's where we feel comfortable.
That's funny. I thought you would say Bucky's or Sheets, because those are like the main people pick.
Yeah, those are like spaced out though. It's like Flying J, they're
Yeah.
everywhere, and they give us like like 5 cents off on a gallon if you have the card, and like all this kind of stuff adds up. When you're pinching dollars and so like it's nice for us.
Sounds like you guys are part of a membership.
Yeah, we did. Somehow we got a semi driver's card
Oh my
10,
god.
10 years ago or so, and it actually like will build up points to where you can get a free shower, which is
Oh shit.
great. We don't shower like every day or every other day, so it's nice to like get the gas to finally pay for a shower. It's like a double win for us, man. It's
You
fun
guys
how we tour.
you guys have it where you guys are waiting at one's waiting outside. Okay, 5 minutes each or 2 minutes each. Okay, I'm done. Runs in there. Moments like
That's
that.
so perfect. Yeah, it is like that. You bring your own towel and you're on call, ready to go. I mean, it's hard, but it's like something I would never trade. It's like camping.
Right. And with us talk about touring, you said you find that hard. Is there anything else that you find hard with touring?
I mean, for me, it's always being away
Yeah.
uh, from my house and my girl, and all of that. I think it becomes really hard to like solidify a routine in your life when it's like, oh, I get 2 months at home and then I'm gone for 2 months.
Right.
I get 3 weeks at home and then I'm gone for 2 months. So
Right.
that's always the challenge, and especially as I'm getting older. When I was in my 20s, I did not give a shit. I was leaving. I didn't care what was at home. I'd throw it in the storage unit and just leave for 8 months. And that I love that. But now it's like, damn, I got all this stuff, and but I love it just as much as I did the first time I ever did it. It's just a very special thing, and I know, I don't want to be one of the dudes that's like 70 years old still playing heavy metal. Like I want to enjoy this while it's a young man's game, and then go help music out in a different way after that.
Right. And I love asking. You're talking about how you listen to many different genres. I love asking, how does your like playlist on tour change from your day to day?
Ah, I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, when I'm driving in the van, I like, crosses, team sleep, palm, like that stuff to me, like Chino's made for just all these kind of chill moments that you need.
I
Oh,
agree.
you actually have a Deftone shirt on
We're
right now.
the-
Oh, hell yes. Yeah, like that's my jam, and that them being such like a cool part of my family also, in the early days of Deftones and
That's so cool.
Soulfly. My older brother, like he was like their boy, so to see what they've become and enjoying that music so much as I do is a big part. I love Revolution and Stick Figure. I think they're super dope, and they have killer vibes. Like, you're inundated with so much bad energy all day in the life now in the world and shit. So it's like, if I can put on like some music and like everybody's like smoking some joints and they're fucking thinking about good stuff, it totally resonates with my personal vibe of who I am, like on the deep. So yeah, those are my jams right now. But I'll dive into some classics every now and then when I'm getting tired. Like, Pantera will wake you up.
Right.
You know some stuff like that. Poison the Well get you going, and I'm into it all through every day of life.
Hell yeah. And with this record about to drop, you've toured basically everywhere. Is there any place you haven't toured that you would love to do with this record releasing?
Oh god, there's so many still. Japan, we've never got to do. Australia. I'd love to return to South America. But I'd say Japan. Japan's probably the number one. Like that country is so beautiful, and the metalheads there are so cool, and the love for music and the music shops they have there are just incredible. I've heard. So that would definitely be the one that we have to play.
That'd be cool. That'd be sick. And I have to bring it up again. Like you guys have 9 records. With bringing that up, what's something you guys would still love to accomplish or you guys haven't accomplished like bucket list wise? Except for Japan, we
Oh,
just mentioned that.
shit. I mean, there's so many. That's what's so cool. Like this band, like I felt like we were like an underground independent band for literally the last 15 years. We have so much still to accomplish as a band to play like Walk In or Hellfest or,
That'll be sick.
tour. Yeah, like touring with certain artists and, getting our record to actually like be something that's like bigger than what we ever expected. Like there's a lot of goals, and that's probably why we haven't quit, we haven't given up, we haven't like been like, this shit, we're not headlining, arenas or theaters. Like we should stop because we just love playing music and
That's
intertwining that with our life. So we're not quitting.
that's how it's supposed to be. I like when bands have goals, but sometimes those goals are like just touring and like being out there and being alive and having your name out there. That's what it is, really. Connecting
Yeah,
with
I
your
mean,
audience.
yeah, if it can like, pay the bills for a couple weeks at the same time
Yeah.
as like going and like rocking with like my best friends at the same time,
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing.
I agree. And where can everyone keep up with you and buy this fantastic new record that's about to go out?
I mean, obviously, there's the regulars, the Facebook, the Instagram, the YouTube. Our link for RPM Records, they're shelling out all the pre-orders, the pre-save stuff with the vinyl that you see there, the CD hard case, etc. So please do that. Also, give us a share on your stories. Check us out on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever the hell you're doing. Just check it out. Don't miss out on this record because once this thing opens the door, there's so many albums for you to check out that I'm sure you haven't heard, and we'll find shit that's dope on them.
I agree. And I love to thank you for taking the time to be on my show. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, much love. Anytime too. Like I love rapping and talking music, and it'll be
Alright.
fun to like catch up post release and touring and
Yeah,
stuff, and see
that'd be cool.
see see where the world is. Thanks, Emily, for taking your time too.
Awesome, thank you. I'm in the interview, and I'm